Welcome everybody to another episode of the Culture of the Game. We actually have a special episode for you today, a new endeavor for us into our Court Sessions Film Room, where we are going to go through some film clips with you guys and show you why things work and why things don't work. Simply put, on the basketball court, this isn't exactly an X's and O's thing, but this is aimed at teaching players, coaches, anybody that loves the game of basketball the way that we do, the simplicity of the game and things you can take home with yourselves and to your teams. So, Edward, would you like to kick us off with our first topic for our film room?
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to start to break down and talk about advantage. And, guys, advantage is everything that basketball is built around. From its earliest time of playing basketball, without the word advantage ever being uttered, that's what's happening. That's why coaches like, oh, you got a tall kid? We need a tall kid. Hope he tries out. He can shoot it. He's fast. It's all about advantage. That's why we do plays. That's why we set screens to try to get an advantage or a disadvantage. So on offense, everything's about advantage. And on defense, everything's about not giving some form of advantage. He's a shooter. She's fast with the ball. Play off her. Everything is about advantage. And today we're going to start to show you ways to get advantage. Some of these ways will be dynamic in action, designed by coaches to manipulate things. Some of them will be simply reads or skills of a player that create advantage. And what makes it so fascinating, and this is where some of the cliche of basketball comes to life and has meaning. So hopefully you players and coaches are like, oh, I'm tired of hearing team game. I know that, coach. Well, here's what it means. I can have all the advantage in the world, but if Matt doesn't understand to see my advantage and know it's about to be used and have the angles or the spacing or the timing or the patience or the gravity or all the other things we're going to talk about, my advantage is really watered down because of what's happening around the court, the dynamics surrounding my set advantage, thus turning my advantage into a disadvantage and a defensive advantage, which is why I've said, you guys will hear me say and probably get tired of hearing me say that defense doesn't win, poor offense loses. And it's because of things like this. So we're going to today start to show you multiple ways of advantages happening and how just important as the player that can get an advantage is the team that can keep advantage. So there we go.
Yeah, and this will make a lot more sense when we jump into the film. But just to add on to that, it's not even just that poor offense loses, it's impatient offense loses.
Impatient
and I
offense,
think that when
right.
Yeah, right. So I think that when it comes to advantage, it's even just as important to understand when you don't have the advantage and when it's important for you to trust your teammate who might have a better opportunity at creating the advantage. And again, that will all make sense here, but just something to keep in mind as a player, as a coach. So let's jump into some film clips here. Okay.
Yeah, so let's just go back even from the beginning, right, guys? So a couple things here to start, right? So this is not an advantage that's gained by the inkboard, right? This is not a schematical coach advantage. This is a player identification advantage. Luka sees his advantage over Jokic is just going to be speed just by sheer size, right? Like Luka's not fast, but Jokic's a lot bigger, therefore slower. And let me show you what makes the advantage possible. Look at the spacing in the blue jerseys. And one of the things we talk about a lot at court session is defense being a decision. And if you look at the white jerseys on the floor right now, no one has made a decision here. Everyone's kind of in help position, but not decision.
A lot of players, especially players that I coach and a lot of younger players, think that in order to gain advantage, so Luka right now, he has a switch onto a bigger player. Luka knows he's not the quickest guy in the world, but he's quicker than Jokic. So he's not putting 3 crossovers together between the legs, pound, 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 pound. Luka knows he doesn't need that. Luka knows I'm just going to use a simple speed advantage and a leverage advantage to be able to get this guy on my hip and now put the defense at my mercy. So I just wanted to make that point. As this clip rolls, you'll see. Just very simple.
Okay, you can pause it there, Matt. So immediately here, you see the white jerseys start to contract, right? This is a even more magnified example of advantage basketball. So now what has happened is Luka's created an advantage, and the advantage is highlighted and really exploited by the spacing. This is how it all kind of comes together, right? So you see the spacing of the guys in blue. No one cut to the ball. No one just kind of, did some motion to move. They all just kind of held what we call it Court Sessions gravity. They held gravity, making everyone in white make a decision. Now, Luka gets in deep into the defense here, level 2, borderline level 3 of the defense here. And you see what's going to happen is he's going to rise for vision because he trusts his teammates that they're going to be in the right spot. So when he jumps, he knows what he's looking for. This is not, coaches never leave your feet to pass. Well, if you can trust your teammates to hold gravity and have the right spacing off ball, you're not jumping hoping, you're jumping to find because you know your guys are there. And you know the defense isn't there because you have them because the advantage you took at 22 feet. The advantage at 22 feet has created a greater advantage at 3 feet. Luka jumps, rises with vision, and he looks like he's like looking all around. He's looking at a direct spot. You see it.
Yeah, and an important point to note here, kind of back to your point about jumping to pass. That's like one of those basketball isms that people like to yell out, and I think it's misleading because you don't leave your feet to make a decision. You can leave your feet to pass, but you don't leave your feet to make a decision. If you've gotten to that point where now I'm leaving my feet, I don't know what I'm doing it while I leave my feet, now you're incorrect. So leaving your feet to pass is okay, and we're seeing that right here.
Yeah, because he left his feet knowing where it was going. Ball's going to come out, and now the receiver this pass has what we call it Court Sessions an advantage ball. Anytime you catch a pass that comes out from multiple defenders around the ball, you have what we call an advantage ball. This is a gift, right? Anytime you trap the ball or send multiple bodies or eyes to the basketball, it's a gift for the offense because we've compromised you. We have an advantage now as a team. Luka's advantage of speed created a team advantage of space. Ball's out. The player that catches the ball, the only thing you can do wrong immediately for sure when you catch an advantage ball is hold it. He knows this. He's immediately going to move it. Now, sometimes it's a drive, sometimes it's a shot. Being that he's in the corner, it kind of takes the drive out of play, and being into the space or the defender, the shot's kind of not there either. So what does he do? He immediately looks to move it. This is one of the very few times that you don't even have to put your eyes to the rim. You just want to keep advantage. So the ball's getting moved. Meanwhile, look at the spacing. Now, I know these clips have gotten dragged out by us talking, but this is 2 or 3 or 4 seconds where the guys in the perimeter, both corners, the guy at the top, have not moved. They haven't moved.
And what's very important to note here as well, and why basketball is really such a simple game that we like to make really difficult, is that we are 3 seconds into the action right now. All Luka did was attack with 3 dribbles downhill. And now look at where all the defense is. You've got 4 defenders that are in the paint. 4 defenders that are in the paint. And this is how you can use your best player, not necessarily to score all the time, but to attract a lot of attention. So all he did was drive downhill. Now you've got 4 guys in the paint. And this is an NBA defense where these guys schematically know they're probably not supposed to do this, but it's human nature. And this allows the spacing that you talked about, this great spacing between these guys, to be able to amplify that advantage on the swing. Now it's a long closeout coming out here. I don't know who this is in the red shoes. Long closeout. He's at the player's mercy right here on this extra pass.
Yeah. And if you look at, go ahead and rewind that one more time, Matt. If you look at this again, right? Advantage creates advantage. So Luka's speed advantage creates the defensive collapse advantage, which creates the pass and the advantage ball. Now here it comes. Now look at the catch. Now this is again a Court Session staple. The second he catches the ball, eyes go straight to the rim. That little advantage shows up in a big way in terms of team advantage, because all the eyes to the rim does is forces his closeout to come high and hard.
Which brings another thing. I mean, there's so much in this clip, right? Like this is why this is great, because his eyes on the catch here serve as his first shot fake. He gets a lift with his eyes here before he even shows the defender the ball, because this defender's sprinting out at him. He's at his mercy. But if he doesn't look at the rim here, he might not get this guy lifted. Your shot fake has got to look realistic. And what it does is by using your eyes, it becomes realistic. Whoop. Ball doesn't really move much there. It's really a head fake, an eye fake. He doesn't get himself out of position. This player is flying by. That's going to be the easiest shot he's had all season.